Good morning, everyone. See if we can get Grant on here as well. And we're letting people log in from the main session to the session. People are probably continuing to log in. So, well, it's a great day to be congratulating and marking the moment for our 2020 CEM class. You guys have been through a lot. So what we'd like to do is give a little bit of an overview of the CEM program and then go through each student one at a time to congratulate you on your accomplishments and finishing the program. So Grant and I are going to be tag teaming back and forth in a fairly ad hoc way. So I'm going to lead out here, but then get Grant on. Grant, are you live as well?
Yeah, hopefully everybody can hear and see me. I've turned my video on, and I just saw Emily nod, so at least one person can hear me. That's good. I'll say a few words in a minute.
Okay. So first off, all the students know this, but there may be others logging in as well. Grant and I co-chair the program. The CEM program is unique in that it uses two campuses from Duke. So the main campus the first year and the Marine Lab the second year. And so conveniently, the co-chairs are myself at the main campus, who is dealing a lot with the first year students when they come into the program, and Grant is the co-chair from the Marine Lab side, who sees the students quite a bit in the second year. But we work together to help direct this program, and it's a pleasure to work with all the students. Our main goal is to prepare leaders in conservation management in coastal and marine ecosystems, and that covers a really, really wide range of activities. And as we go through the students' presentations and topics, you'll see the breadth of activities that are covered by our students. It's enormous. So the CEM program really has an emphasis on both science and policy and management, and we really take that seriously. And I think it's one of the unique identifiers of the Nicholas School in general, but the CEM program, I think, does a really good job of making sure all the students come through with toolboxes filled with tools in both the fundamental sciences, both social science and physical and biological science, as well as policy and management. And we really feel that that's important in this global changing world. So we really have a broad mission, and it's one that I think it tries to cram a lot into 2 years. And so all of you who are graduating probably feel like you've done a lot in 2 years, but also 2 years goes by really, really fast. And so I'm always kind of bittersweet moment at the end of every 2-year cycle to see students that it's like, we're just getting to know you and we're sending you out there into the world. In addition to the MEM, Master's Environmental Management degree, and the CEM track, a number of our students have also completed certificates, and common certificates in our program are the certificate in geospatial analysis, the certificate in community-based management, and a number of this year's students also received certificates in international development policy. And I think this is also a really good testament to the range of activities and the focus of our students to try to focus in on skill development, and sometimes with multiple certificates in addition to their degree. So to move on, I think we'll start out with the first student we've got. And so this will be Cam, and see if we get Dave logged in and
Pat?
say a few words. Yes.
Sorry, I'm just going to use my co-hosting privilege here to interject with a word or two before we get started. It's just a couple of housekeeping details. But I want to begin that by just re-welcoming everybody to this session. It's one of my favorite days of the year, graduation. It's bittersweet because you got to say goodbye to some folks that you've grown to really connect with, but it's also been a great time to meet parents and family, and I'm really happy to see a lot of people participating today. So welcome. I'm glad you're able to make the time for that. A couple of housekeeping things. We are going to ask the participating faculty to introduce their students, the ones that they advise for their master's project. Hopefully that'll go smoothly. If it doesn't, Pat or I will step in and introduce the student if faculty have trouble connecting or for whatever reason. When we introduce them, we're asking them to mention the title of their MP. And for those that don't know, an MP is their master's project, which is a research project that students work on for a year and a half of their time here with the program. It's sort of the capstone and the culmination and the synthesis of the work that they've done. There's a wide range of projects that you'll see over the next 15 or so slides, everything from the natural to the physical to the social sciences. Some that are working with external clients, government agencies or NGOs or private sector groups. Some that are working with professors here at the lab. Some that have academic outputs associated with them. Others have produced things like websites or videos and so on. So you're going to see a wide range of products and topics in these following slides. And it really represents what Pat was talking about before, how diverse and strong our students really are. So that's how the next 10 slides or 15 slides or so are going to work. Also put in a plug for those that are attending here for a marine lab reception at 11:30. All of our students and family and friends are welcome to come to that. Katie Wood is on the call here. Maybe Katie, at the end, we can say a word about how to connect to that reception. It's much more sort of informal than this, even though this is fairly informal. That's just a chance to come together and talk, meet some of the professors that your students have worked with, or your family have worked with, the students in our program have worked with. It'll last about an hour. There's going to be private chat rooms at the end to meet some of the faculty one-on-one or in small group sessions if you'd like to do that. So I'd just like to welcome everybody to that. And then finally, I want to say just something quick about this particular cohort of CEMs. Some of the cohorts really stick in my mind that I've had the pleasure of working with over time, and this is certainly going to be one of them. This is a cohort that I can't call lucky. They've had 2 hurricanes and a pandemic that they've come through, but I can certainly call them strong. The students have all done a lot of really good work over the last 2 years, and you're going to see that in the following slides. And I'm really, really proud of them to have gone through what they went through and made it out on the other side, having done such fantastic work. So congratulations in advance from me on surviving some extraordinary circumstances, and not only surviving, but flourishing. Well done. So with that, my plug from the Marine Lab, I would like to now, or we would like to now turn it over to the faculty to introduce the students that they've been working with. So Dave J, are you on the line?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, so we'll turn it over to you. We've got to keep kind of to time. So we've got about a minute or 2 for each of the students, and we'll just turn it over and go. It's in alphabetical order, folks, so faculty can be prepared to present their students that way. So I'm going to mute,
Great.
please.
All right. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce Cam Adams, who worked in our lab with the Nature Conservancy, and the title of his MP was Integrating the Use of Unoccupied Aircraft Systems into Coastal Land Management Strategies on the Outer Banks of North Carolina. And I clearly remember meeting with Cam, and I think it was in Nonstop, the restaurant, and I was meeting with him to talk about potential MPs, and I had this idea. I was looking for someone who would be a great fit to spend time up at the Nags Head Woods area, the Nature Conservancy property up there for the summer, and essentially work as an interface with the managers there to understand how drones might be useful to them. And it was such an amazing fit. I feel like everything worked so smoothly. And Cam went up, spent the time there, spent a lot of time learning the property, and then looking at how drones could be integrated into their workflows. And I think his MP really shows the utility and how useful it can be for them. And I just want to say congratulations and thanks for all of your work. And I really enjoyed working with you on this. And I'm looking forward to hopefully working with you more in the future.
All right. Cam also received a certificate in geospatial analysis, so need to recognize that as well. We're ready to move on to our next student.
Hi, everyone. I'd like to introduce Grace Cullingham, and to give you a bit of background about this project, Grace came to me very interested in spatial analysis, coral reefs, and I was just at a meeting in the Caribbean where some fisheries managers and marine protected area managers were having a hard time sitting on fisheries, landings data, and a whole bunch of data, but they wanted to translate it into policy. And this is where Grace came in, and she was able to wrangle this amazing time series data set of fisheries landing on the small island of St. Eustatius. Grace dove right in and produced really high quality work. We were in constant communications with the park managers, with the fisheries managers as well. And overall, she was able to provide the managers with an understanding of how efficient the spatial distribution of fishing activity, how things change over time, and the information that she's producing will be included in their revamp of their marine spatial planning around the island. And overall, it was a great pleasure to work with Grace, really enthusiastic, really a go-getter, and I know she'll go on to do some great things.
All right, congratulations, Grace, who also received a certificate in geospatial analysis.
Okay, all right, and now we have Tamara. So similar to Grace, we had a practitioner, a partner who in this case was the World Wildlife Fund. Their US office works extensively in Indonesia, and they have been conducting a long-term monitoring program to understand the changes that are happening within the coastal communities, as well as the coral reefs there. So in extremely high quality, high resolution ecological and social data set. But a huge mission piece was how tourism is affecting both the community, the human community, and the coral reef community as well. And Tamara in this project, she worked with Dominic Andrade Brown, who's an ecologist at the World Wildlife Fund in the US office in DC. And she essentially did months of web scraping to identify where are the tourism hotspots, where are the dive sites, where are the hotels, the homestays, the ports, and using a geospatial analysis and tools in GIS, Python, and R, she was able to create what we call a tourism gravity index. So we can understand where are the tourism hotspots and how that relates to the ecological condition that we see there. Overall, it was a pleasure working with Tamara. Definitely was a lot of work, but she was able to put together a really impressive output that the WWF and others will be using in further analysis to come.
All right, congratulations, Tamara, who also received a certificate in geospatial analysis.
Morning, everybody. Sorry, I'm on 3 computers, so it took me a minute. It's my pleasure this morning to present Lauren Mariolis, who did a group project with a student who will come up soon, Reconstructing Coastal Identity, which is an examination of change in fisheries and gentrification in Beaufort. She also did 2 certificates, as you can see, the certificate in community-based management and in international development policy. Lauren took 2 courses with me, and I co-advised her in this with Grant Murray. So I saw a lot of Lauren over the past year. And in my fall semester political ecology course, Lauren was a student who really challenged all of us to think about, rather than just what's gone wrong with efforts to manage environments, to think about how we can do better. And I really appreciated her voice in my ear throughout the semester and the rest of the year on looking for positive opportunities. It's kind of the way we're trying to frame things at the Nicholas School now, right? It's not just about the problems that we face, but the opportunities for solving them. I also want to point out that I found out very late that Lauren has significant skills in graphic design, and I have resisted the whole semester of pulling her in to revamp my website and imagine how my own work could look different visually. She's really skilled in that work, and every time she puts up a PowerPoint, you see that. So congratulations, Lauren, and yeah, I wish we could do this in person, but it's been a real pleasure.
Excellent. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm just going to stay on because all my students are M's. So I'm pretty sure I have all three in a row. Now it's my pleasure to talk a little bit about Emily Melvin, whose MP is on tourism, environmental stewardship, and community engagement on Andros Islands in the Bahamas, and who also earned a certificate in international development policy. Emily is one of those people who I really admire in that she left a successful law career to come back to do something that she is passionate about. And her passion for thinking about the environment and people's interrelationships with the environment and how she might position herself and her work in that new world for her has been evident throughout her work. We had a talk on the porch at the end of first year where we talked about what she needed to get out of her MP. And as someone who had been in the professional world and had significant skills through her time as a lawyer, we really decided that she should try and think about it as a test case for whether or not she wanted to pursue a PhD. And so she designed an MP that would really focus on fairly traditional data collection in the social sciences around an issue and in a place that she knew well and she had connections to. And, you know, it's a professional program, and she managed to do that in a way that was useful to, I would say they were an informal client, the owners of the lodge that she worked with in the Bahamas. But apparently she enjoyed learning about those research skills and was competent in that Emily is going to go on and do a PhD, and just, you know, because we like to keep things close in the Campbell Lab, she will be Leslie Acton, who's a former PhD student of mine. She will be her first PhD student at the University of Southern Mississippi. So congratulations to Emily on that. And I'm really happy because I know there's a link that means that I'll get to continue to talk and interact with you over time.
Congratulations, Emily.
Yeah. My M's are not in a row, so I'll stop.
Is Dr. Dan on?
I don't see Dan in the list.
Okay.
Okay, Pat, maybe I'll take the honor of introducing Megan. Megan Moran is here pictured on the upper left of my screen. She had the opportunity to work with Dr. Dan Richoff, one of the true characters here at our lab. He's been working at the Marine Lab for many years on blue crab. And I'm particularly fond of this project because I did my own CEM project on the blue crab. So I was happy to see that continuation through Megan's work. Megan worked up at Lake Mattamuskeet, which is not too far from here at the lab, and it's a really rich habitat for blue crabs. And she spent quite a bit of time in the lab understanding how their genetics may differ across different salinities, which is an important part of their life history. So she was out in the field collecting samples. She was in the lab and gaining a lot of direct experience in how to understand blue crab genetics. I had the pleasure of seeing her quite a bit actually over the course of the semester. She was in my marine policy class. where she was one of the better students in that class, and also in the lab just down the hall from me, which was great to see her smiling face in the afternoon. Congratulations, Megan. I'm sorry Dr. Dan isn't able to be here in person to send you off, but please, accept our congratulations on his behalf.
Congratulations, Megan.
Okay, and I'm going to do Kat Morse here because I just got a text from Lisa that her internet has gone wonky. And like Lisa said before, we were co-advisors for Lauren and Kat's project together. Lisa mentioned a little bit about what that was about, but I might add a bit about how innovative their product was. So we've encouraged our students to really think about what an academic product can look like in today's environment.
Talking about Kat, but also the project.
Oh, sorry, somebody's not muted there. And Kat worked on the development of a website where we can actually see some of the themes that she and Lauren worked on together. So they were looking at the change in Beaufort, which of course was where the Marine Lab is, and how tourism has shaped the community over time, how tourism has changed over time, and how the rise and changes in commercial fishing have also changed over time. So they talk about Beaufort then and Beaufort now, and assembled an incredible array of material that draws on historical records, historical maps, interviews, photographs, to illustrate these kinds of changes in a case example of a coastal community. And these are themes that coastal communities across the country are facing and has drawn the attention of national management agencies. So I don't know if maybe either Kat or Lauren could get it into the chat box, but there's a link and you can go and see this kind of material in a way that's different than some traditional academic material. So I really want to give a shout out to the thoughtfulness and the sort of artistry that they put into the science that they did here at the lab. It was very well done. Also congratulate Kat just on being a great all-around part of the class and the cohort. It's been my pleasure to work with her on this project. Also had her in a class and seen her in seminar every week. One of the people I'm really going to miss. Congratulations on a project well done.
All right. Next up is Brittany Pashkow, who is one of my students. Brittany was a pleasure to work with. She worked on migratory connectivity of the Chatham albatross. And this project was part of a program that we have at Duke called MICO, the Migratory Connectivity of the Oceans program. And that program just won the Oceans 2020 Award for Innovations. So Brittany was a contributor to that program. Brittany worked on some pretty complicated stuff, looking at the connectivity of a long distance traveling migratory bird species that's traveling across the Pacific, and trying to look at where the areas those birds use in the middle of the ocean, using telemetry tracking data, and then also overlaying that onto fishing effort to try to look at where there's potential interactions with offshore fisheries. And so this is very, very practical and very technical work that really directly contributes to management of an endangered species. So I think it's really, really active stuff. Brittany also is receiving a certificate in geospatial analysis. And I know she's applying for lots of positions right now because I'm going to be writing those letters of recommendations. So we're really, really happy to send her off into the world. And I think she's going to do really, really well. So congratulations, Brittany. All right. Waverly.
Hi, everybody. Waverly's MP was entitled Occurrence, Distribution, and Reproductive Status of Female Bottlenose Dolphins in Roanoke Sound. Waverly has deep roots in North Carolina. She grew up in the Outer Banks. Her family still lives there. And in her MP analysis, she analyzed a really large data set of sightings that had been collected by the Outer Banks Center for Dolphin Research. The leader of the Outer Banks Center for Dolphin Research is Jess Taylor, who's an alumna also of the CM program. So it's kind of a nice kind of in the family story. Waverly did an enormous amount of analysis. She analyzed the distribution of sightings of female dolphins with calves in Roanoke Sound to ask the question whether they were particular areas of the sound that served as nursery habitats. And it turns out that pretty much the entire sound itself is a nursery habitat. Waverly also constructed reproductive histories of individual females so that we could see over time, over decades actually, how often individual females gave birth and the success of their offspring. Waverly also gave back. She created a really cool lesson plan for middle school students, looking at the effects of abiotic and biotic factors on the distribution of dolphins in Roanoke Sound. And that lesson plan won first place at Siren. So congratulations to Waverly on a great MP and also for giving back to the community from which she has come from.
Okay, so my pleasure to talk a little bit about Natalie Rodriguez's work. Natalie did her MP, which was entitled An Evaluation Guide for Rookery Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve, which involved doing a lot of analysis of environmental education, essentially. Natalie has a real passion for that. She worked on it for MP. She worked with my wife, Liz DiMattia, throughout much of the time here, and I'm sure Liz is congratulating her from the other room as well. And her passion for that topic really shone through in her choice of MP and in the quality of that MP. She interviewed a number of different professionals at a research reserve. She reached out across the country to learn what other reserves were doing. She worked with the educators that came to visit the research reserve and learn how better to evaluate the experiences that students were having at those reserves, to be systematic about evaluating the experiences of students. How do we know whether or not we're connecting as environmental educators with the people that we intend to connect with? Are they learning what we think that they're going to learn when they come to visit a special place like one of the estuarine research reserves? She forged some great connections there throughout the reserve system, and particularly at Rookery Bay. I have photographs and I have talked with her about her experience there, and it just looks like it was a wonderful thing for everyone that was involved, despite what I hear about sometimes the heat and mosquitoes and trying to keep younger students engaged in a process like that. I think she was uniquely capable of doing that kind of thing. I look forward to seeing where Natalie's career takes her over the next little while. One of those people that I hope to be writing letters of recommendation for soon. Congratulations, Natalie. And I also just like to pass on congratulations from Nikki Cagle, who is her co-advisor. Who couldn't make it this morning. There's a lot of other events happening during the day for NSOE, so she was unable to make it, but she's certainly here in spirit.
All right. Next up is Yingyi Sun. And Yingyi was working on looking at purseine and trawler fisheries in China. And this was a very exploratory project that I think has a lot of importance. We are trying very much these days to develop a better baseline of the fisheries and coastal and marine interactions in Chinese waters, to be able to better provide information on policy and management of those areas, extremely important areas. Yingyi was working with data from a group called Global Fishing Watch, which tracks vessels using satellite, what they call AIS data, which is vessel tracking data, and was able to take that data and turn it into provisional maps of fishing effort off the coast of China. So this was like first time kind of project, very exploratory. And so he also was looking at trying to kind of analyze this data from a regional perspective and to look at where are these hotspots and dense areas of fishing effort. So really important and really exploratory work in that field. Yingyi also received a certificate in geospatial analysis and was a pleasure to work with. So congratulations, Yingyi. All right. Next up, another student also working on issues from China, Hanyu Wang, Helen Wang, was working on a really interesting project to look at vessel tracking for fleets that were moving from China into Europe, and a area we call the Marine Silk Road, the 21st century Marine Silk Road, which is a potentially rapidly growing area in terms of Chinese policy, looking at expanding their shipping capacity and influence around the world. And what Helen was working on was looking at vessel tracking to see where are the connections, where are all the different trips for vessels going from, ports in Europe through Africa, around through the Indian Ocean, back to China, and vice versa. And so very exploratory work using new types of data. So Helen is a bundle of energy, and she worked on this endlessly, and I think produced some really interesting and cool results. Helen's also receiving a certificate in geospatial analysis, and it was a pleasure to work with you. Thank you. Another one, Nick Werner. Nick was working on a topic that I think was near and dear to his interests, and that was looking at nursery grounds for juvenile manta rays. And so this is an issue that you would think we would know more about, but it turns out, like many things in the marine environment, we know very little about the really critical portions of the life history of the species and where are the potential nursery grounds for manta rays. We see manta rays in different portions of their life history, but the nursery grounds is an incredibly important point in the life history of these animals. And so Nick was looking at mapping and geospatial analysis of potential nursery grounds and looking at the environmental variables that might predict where they're located and let us better define where these sites are. So another example of a project that had very fundamental marine conservation science goals, but also very, very practical applications to provide managers better detail on where we should expect to find these animals in this critical life stage. Nick also is receiving a certificate in geospatial analysis, and we wish him well. Congratulations, Nick. Audrey.
Hi again, everybody. So Audrey's MP was entitled Inferring Survival and Mortality of Stranded Common Dolphins off Cape Cod, Massachusetts using satellite telemetry data. Audrey's client was the International Fund for Animal Welfare, who we fondly refer to as IFAW. And over the last almost 10 years or so, IFAW has been rehabilitating and releasing stranded common dolphins on Cape Cod, which is a hotspot on the East Coast for strandings, with small satellite tags to fix to their dorsal fin to see whether the animals survived or not after this really stressful experience of stranding. Obviously, dolphins don't belong on the beach, but IFAW has really good veterinarians, veterinary care, and they release the animals. Sometimes those tags fail, so it's difficult to determine whether an animal survived or whether the tag failed. So Audrey took on the daunting task of looking at the data transmitted to satellite from these dolphins. It's very complicated, very difficult, very messy data, and Audrey and I spent a lot of time looking at each other across my desk, pondering on how best to analyze these data. And she did a really beautiful job in the end of doing an analysis that's going to be really helpful to IFAW as they move forward in the future. Audrey is also, I think, pretty much fair to say, kind of the co-director of the oyster farm, the Duke Aqua Farm. She's been instrumental in helping Tom Schultz with oysters. You can see her there, reaping the rewards of her hard labor. She's been a great community member. Audrey also earned a hard-earned certificate in geospatial analysis. So congratulations, Audrey. It's been a pleasure to work with you.
It's a pleasure, Audrey. Walter.
Okay, it's my pleasure to finish, I think, our list of graduates off for the class of 2020 with Walter Wright, who I believe we're reaching on a beach in Mexico. He has moved down since beginning this MP, has relocated to Mexico with his partner and had his first child during the process. I see a picture of there up in the upper left-hand corner. So he's overcome a lot to get through this project, and in the end turned in a project that I think he can be proud of. He looked specifically, again, at environmental education and thinking about best practices and design principles for designing experiential or experiences for people that are interested in learning more about the marine environment. He looked specifically at a company or an organization called Sailwind, which uses sailboats to go out onto the water and engage with the natural world with the intent of trying to enlighten people about, or participants about, current environmental issues and to ultimately change their behavior. So he designed curriculum looking at water quality, marine debris, and so on, using some of the best practices that he developed from reviewing the literature. Walter, I hope you can hear us. We're wishing you well and good luck. I hope that you stay in touch. It'll be good to hear from you now and again, and I look forward to seeing where the next chapter of your life takes you. Congratulations on a job well done.
Congratulations, Walter. Okay. Any closing remarks, Grant?
Yeah, I mean, I said what I thought at the beginning about this cohort. I'm going to miss y'all. I hope you stay in touch. I do get to hear from the cohorts in the past through emails, through letters, through occasional visits to the lab, and please do all those things. You'll always have a home here at the Marine Lab. It's part of, I think, one of the real strengths of the Duke program is the community that we build over the time that you're here. And come back and see us. Come back and drop a line if you can't make it in person. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to be following your careers with interest. There's going to be students following in your path that are going to be knocking on your door someday to learn about how you got where you're going to get, because I know you are all going to succeed in your careers. I'm going to miss you all. Congratulations again. I'll talk to you soon.
Congratulations.
Again, remember, Katie, maybe you could pop on just to say how to connect, for those that don't know, to the Marine Lab reception at 11:30. Family and friends are welcome to that too. It's got a more informal, less structured style to it, but we definitely welcome people to come. Katie,
Yep.
Are you there? Can you say a word?
I am. I'm here. Thank you, Grant. Yes, it's at 11:35. I think the best way to give everybody instructions is just to go back to the Nicholas School main website. There is a direct link there to the Marine Lab session. Very informal. It'll be fun. And then we will have private Zoom rooms with a couple faculty group per room. If anybody didn't get those Zoom links and they want them, pop me a quick email. I'll put it in the chat, katie.wood@duke.edu. All the students should have gotten that yesterday. So we'll see you then. Congratulations.
Congratulations, everyone. Bye-bye.